Waller County Sheriff's Office.
I heard some gunshots, and I think someone's dead.
Quickly learned the call was fake. A case of swatting, someone reportedly using a device that alters voices, calling in a false report.
We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house.
And they know who was where when, and so they've got a pretty good idea of who they think is responsible.
This video is for adults only. Discretion is advised. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Let's talk about what kind of person can commit a crime like this. Why did he hang on to her in the trunk? Why not discard her along with all of the items he discarded, including her passport, which was thrown along the side of the road? Let's talk about the escalation of obsession of David, D4VD, and Celeste Rivas Hernandez. There is a pattern that I believe that investigators often describe in cases where perpetrators' behavior gradually becomes more intrusive, more controlling, more persistent, and can often escalate into what happened to beautiful and precious Celeste. David's obsession, I believe, escalated in steps. We're going to talk about how this escalated and how David maintained control over Celeste. How did his obsession escalate in ways that looked romantic to Celeste at the beginning, but then became more and more controlling? First, we have this fixation, which forms a narrow emotional focus. And David, in my opinion, began to organize his life around Celeste, constantly thinking about her, prioritizing what he wanted from her over normal boundaries, and using attention as a proof of his caring and love for her, even though I believe that he didn't have any feelings of love for Celeste. And access became the first form of control for David. He moved from talking to gaining more entry into her life with more frequent contact, deeper personal questions. Ultimately, he worked to become the primary person in Celeste's life. And he kept pushing for boundaries. He used, in my opinion, talk of fate to replace Celeste's boundaries with promises like, I'm going to marry you. And this allowed David to bypass Celeste's consent. This allowed David to cross Celeste's boundaries. He made promises to her. I believe he promised he was going to marry her. And this allowed him to bypass in both Celeste's mind and also in his mind what would be an illegal relationship, because Celeste was only a child and therefore could not consent. David would have used the justification of this is meant to be rather than this is wrong, but he also would have used this justification in his own mind. Let me know what you think. So then he began to test her limits. Of course, he didn't explicitly say, Celeste, I want to control you, but he did test what he could get away with. He made secrecy requests, pushed relationship exclusivity, and tried to control what Celeste shared with other people. And we saw this in the fact that they had the Shhh tattoo, matching tattoos on their index fingers. And that's ultimately how they initially identified Celeste. We saw this with the engagement ring, and we also saw this in him giving a phone to a child in the neighborhood to give to her so that he could control her. So I believe that this testing the limits escalated into ownership framing. And what I mean by that is that it turned into an entitlement on his part. The control shifted from we're in a relationship to I'm entitled to you and your choices are going to be decided by me. And David's obsession ultimately became less about mutual connection and more about jealousy. he began to leverage other things. Celeste ultimately wanted him to keep her promises to her. And as she saw Asia filming with David, I think she felt displaced. She said in one of her text messages that this woman had her seat. So back when Celeste was 11 and 12 years old and was initially talking with David, I believe that his obsession with her escalated, and that his need no longer was no longer satisfied by communication alone. And I think that this led to increasingly harmful actions. And we can see this escalation taking place in David's music with the song Romantic Homicide, which ultimately went to depictions of a girl with severed arms, and led to ultimately him traveling around with an adolescent sized casket holding mock funerals. And I think that he tried to show her that he was devoted to her so that she would be devoted to him. And how he escalated it was he wrote a song and linked the release of the song to her birthday. And again, this would have made Celeste feel like she was important to David, that she was central in his life. And the synchronization of her life events, her birthday, would have felt integrated into David's narrative to Celeste. And this would have reinforced Celeste bonding to David, because what she probably heard him saying is, "I'm always thinking of you," which would have softened her resistance and increased her dependency on David. But what David really was doing was manipulating Celeste. And the escalation, David pushing secrecy, demanding exclusivity, reacting intensely to boundaries, trying to manage her reputation or who she talks to by giving her the phone, pushing secrecy, and this was evidenced by the Shhh tattoo, demanding exclusivity. He made her feel like she was engaged to him, reacting intensely to boundaries. And we saw this with the Operation Awesome, where he was going to come and get her from her parents and steal her away. And then trying to manage who she talked to. And I believe that he did this by getting her a cell phone when her parents tried to set boundaries. He was older and smarter and more calculating. He was able to overcome the defenses of a 12-year-old, 13-year-old. This type of emotional manipulation and coercion often work like a step-by-step system. First, David would have created an emotional dependency from Celeste onto him, and then he would have used that against her, using emotional and practical manipulations to override Celeste's ability to consent. So in coercive control patterns, the manipulation is frequently gradual and layered, and so this would have occurred over a period of months and even years. And common tactics that I believe David used were love bombing, the destiny framing, which he talked about red string theory with his audience and on interviews. But I think he also would have talked about this with Celeste. I believe he would have used stories like "We're meant to be together." It looks like he made a marriage promise. And this would have made Celeste feel so special by isolating her and encouraging secrecy with the Shhh tattoo. "Don't tell anyone. This is just for us. We can't talk about this until we're married." I think that this would have really been a way to control Celeste. The future fantasy bonding that he did by promising her a shared future. And I think that he was giving this manipulation and combining that with a reassurance, giving warmth and kindness when Celeste did what he wanted, and then withdrawing it or acting cold when Celeste wouldn't do what he wanted. So Celeste would have felt like she had to manage David's mental health and David's mood. And the guilt and obligation mind game that I believe David played onto Celeste made Celeste feel like she owed David her emotional loyalty. From Celeste's point of view, rejecting David would have felt cruel. The other thing is, and we saw this in the text messages of him minimizing harm. She talked about how much it hurt when he SA'd her. This would have made Celeste question her own judgment. So coercion can be explicit, but it can also be disguised, and it can escalate in its intensity. And I believe that David used emotional blackmail. For example, if you tell someone it will ruin me, or we shouldn't tell anybody this until at least until we're married. I think this would have reframed Celeste's boundaries and made everything feel to her as if it was her fault. Some of the red flags were in these text message exchanges between David and Celeste, talking about requests for secrecy, at least until we're married. Don't tell anyone, at least until we're married. And I believe that he was able to lock Celeste him exclusively. But even here, save your tears, 7 years. I know life is complicated. And I think that was promises to her that he was going to marry her. And of course, the Shhh tattoo was a secrecy pact, in my opinion. So I think David played a lot of games with her, trying to pull her in, testing her obedience, small requests that would have violated Celeste's boundaries. I think that he would have been able to do a blame reversal. Instead of I initiated and I pressured Celeste into doing this, he flipped it around and said, you chose it. I only SA'd you because you begged me to. I think that there would have been consent confusion from this. Celeste would have thought that maybe she agreed and would have wanted to go along with what David was asking. And I think there would have been genuine shame on Celeste's part. And that shame would have worked really well for David. If he can convince her that him SAing her was her idea, then she would feel guilty or at fault, which would make her less likely to speak up about what was happening to her. And then control through psychological ownership by tattooing his name on her ring finger, putting a ring on the finger of a 13-year-old. By declaring that she started it, he was able to frame Celeste as the gatekeeper of what happened next. He was able to make Celeste responsible for what he was doing to her. And if she refused later or tried to say it hurt or tried to say she didn't want to do this, he would claim that she was backtracking or that she was breaking her promises to him. So coercion doesn't always have to come with explicit threats. The pressure can be embedded in the setup, the secrecy, the romance, the destiny talk, the isolation, and the emotional manipulation. And this is what we see in these text messages between David and Celeste. So in trying to understand how this escalated, we can see, one, that there was a secrecy and specialness that he would have made her feel. 2, there was an increase in SA contact. 3, he reframed the SA contact as Celeste's decision. 4, he used that reframing to demand more compliance. And 5, he withdrew and blamed her for everything. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Give this a thumbs up and drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below.